Okay, it is now time for our official UFC 283 preview. We got 6 total picks for you. It feels like forever since we've had a pay-per-view. So no beating around the bush. Let's get right into it. I'm going to start things off in the main event. The light heavyweight title is on the line, and I like Jamahal Hill to capture the championship, coming in with odds of minus 132. So take a look at his opponent here, Glover Teixeira. This is an all-or-nothing fighter. What I mean by this is he has an amazing resume and amazing highlight reel finish victories, but he's also been on the wrong end of a lot of other people's highlight reel finishes. He puts himself in a lot of bad positions. This was on full display in his last fight versus Jiri Prochazka, and that's not a good blueprint versus an ascending finisher like Hill. Hill's volume will absolutely be a problem in this fight. He averages almost 6.5 significant strikes per minute. He has a significant striking differential of close to +3 per minute in the octagon. Glover is actually in the negative in that category. And when the competition rises, so does Hill. They keep stacking the competition. He keeps rising to the occasion with finished victories. Also don't like that it appears that Teixeira has one foot out the door towards retirement. So potentially a next big superstar in the UFC here. Give me Hill minus 132. All right, Ian, we drop down one fight to the co-main event. We each have a pick for this one. We'll let you hit leadoff. Who do you like here?
Yeah, I'm going to take Deiveson Figueiredo in the flyweight title here. He's taking on Marino. If you don't know, this is the 4th time that these guys are fighting. The rare 1-1-1 record in the first 3 fights. So it's the 4th fight rubber match here. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to take Figarito here at even money. He would be 2-1 if he wasn't deducted a point the first time these two fought. It went to a draw because Deiveson Figueiredo was deducted a point in the 3rd round for a groin shot. Let's be honest, that's a little greasy. But if he hadn't done that, he would have won by decision, and he'd be 2-1 at this point, and they probably wouldn't even be having a 4th fight. And if you want to bring up some stats here, I think the most significant one is how much more accurate of a striker Figarito is. He has a striking accuracy of 55%. Marino only 39%. So Figarito, some quick math, I believe that's a 16% increase in striking accuracy as opposed to Marino. That probably plays a big role in why the 2 fights that have gone to decision, he won. I know officially only won 1, but the one he's deducted the point, he would have won. Yeah, even though I'm on Figarito, this is a complete toss-up, complete coin flip. They're 3 fights in, 1-1-1. Why not just take the underdog in a fight that's this close? So give me Deiveson Figueiredo, and still the undisputed champion at even money.
All right. Unfortunately, we are in disagreement on this one. I'm going to take Marino as a small favorite, minus 125. And this one, and we're in disagreement because I actually think Marino has the edge in the previous 3 fights that these guys have had. A draw, a razor-thin decision loss, and of course, the incredible finish victory in the 2nd fight. He knows he can finish Figarito, but Moreno himself has never been finished. If you want to beat this man in a championship fight, you got to do it across 25 minutes, and I have my doubts if Figarito can go into those deep waters once again. He barely did it last time out over a year ago, and he hasn't been active since. Marino staying active. Impressive win over Kai Kara France back in July. And in a fight this close, you got to take any edge you can get. And of course, Marino has age on his side. 6-year age gap between the 2 fighters. How's that legendary weight cut going to impact Figarito in this one as he continues to age? Already making it clear he wants to go up to 135. Give me the younger man, Marino, minus 125. All right, Ian, what are we looking at next? Another marquee fight here. Neil Magny, Gilbert Burns. Who do you like in this one?
Yep, I'm going to take Gilbert Burns here, but I think he's a massive favorite, so I'm not going to lay the juice. Instead, I'm going to look at a little bit of a prop here. I'm going to take Gilbert Burns inside the distance, so for him to win by TKO, KO, submission, or even disqualification at even money here, available over there at BetMGM. Joe, I think you might agree with me on this, and that's Gilbert Burns is the most underrated fighter in this division. I believe we were both betting on him in his last fight against Chimaev when he was a big underdog. Almost came through for us. 7-2 in his last 9 fights. His only losses in that stretch has come to Kamaru Usman, the former champ, and Khamzat Chimaev, who's apparently the next coming of Jesus Christ, if you talk to some MMA fans.
Yeah,
he almost finished him. He was a huge underdog, almost finished him a couple times. Gilbert Burns remains one of the most underrated fighters in the division, and Neil Magny struggles with high-level competition. He will beat up on some lower-level tiered guys, but anytime he fights a guy even close to the top of the weight class, he falls. He has losses to Shavkat Rakhmonov by submission, to Michael Chiesa, to Santiago Ponzinibbio. None of those guys are even close to the level of Gilbert Burns. This is might be Neil Magny's toughest fight of his entire career. And if you look at the stylistic aspect of this fight, because styles do make fights, I think Gilbert's jiu-jitsu is going to cause big issues for Neil Magny here. If you don't know, Gilbert Burns is a jiu-jitsu world champion, bronze medalist also at the ADC World Championship, which is the top-tier competition for the sport of jiu-jitsu. And he has, of his 20 wins, 8 of them have come by submission, and now he gets to take on a Neil Magny, whose 5 of his 9 losses in professional MMA have come via submission. So I think Gilbert's jiu-jitsu is going to be the difference maker here. Give me him to win inside the distance. If you want to get a little bit more aggressive, take him to win by submission. But I'll just stay safe. Even money, Gilbert Burns, ITD.
All right, I got to come at you with some sort of underdog here. So how about my favorite underdog on the entire card, the chronically undervalued Paul Craig, going off at plus 162. I like him to beat Johnny Walker. I think that there's some serious recency bias cooked into this line. Really? Johnny Walker? A minus 200 favorite? The guy was a dog in his 3 previous fights. Now he's this big of a favorite based on what? Because he won his last fight versus an inferior opponent, and because Craig lost his last fight versus a superior opponent? I've seen this movie before, goddammit! Craig is undervalued once again. Walker is a guy that shrinks when the competition rises. The UFC tried to give this guy a push, but he crumbles versus higher level opponents. And I do believe that the chronically undervalued Craig is a higher level opponent. Craig is one of the best on the mat in this division. And of course, in his most recent fight, a loss, Craig struggled to get Volkan Oezdemir to the mat in that fight. But I think he can find success versus Walker, who has a takedown defense of just 58%. Give me the chronically undervalued Paul Craig, plus 162. All right, Ian, bring it home for us. What's your final pick for the event here Saturday?
Yeah, looking at the prelims for a fight here, Terrence McKinney, minus 135, taking on a guy who's making his UFC debut, goes by the name of Ismail Bonfim.
Yes.
Terrence McKinney he fights an extremely aggressive, smothering style of fight. He lands 5.11 takedowns per night, per fight, per 15 minutes, which is just an insane rate of takedowns. He also has a high offensive output, landing 4-point significant strikes per minute. We might see some octagon jitters from Ismail Bonfim. He is coming off Dana White's Contender Series, but the lights are going to be brighter here on an actual UFC pay-per-view event. And when you're making your UFC debut, it's going to be a tough one going up against a guy who fights the smothering style that Terrence McKinney fights. So I'll take McKinney as a small favorite here, minus 135 for a little prelim action.